Fellas, how in the hell are we doing here today? I know it has been a few weeks since we've cranked out a video here on the channel, alright, but your boy has been absolutely slaving away at some first Berserker Khazan. I just dumped 60 plus hours into this game and I checked every nook and cranny for any boss I could find. And today, I am finally excited to bring you all a full, complete, 100% the right way, no questions asked, boss tier list video. This playthrough was done on hard mode with no summons and with the first Berserker ending, so your boy has a pretty good feel for the combat and bosses in this game. I do just want to preface real quick by saying this game has a lot of smaller bosses in the form of these elite mob battles, but we're not including any of those on the list. We are only counting a fight if it throws up that giant red bar across my screen. Everything else can kick rocks. I don't want to waste any more time on the intro than we have to though, okay? This video is already going to be pretty decently long, so let's just get straight into it, folks. I'm Lunar, and this is first Berserker Khazan, all bosses ranked easiest to hardest. And if you're all good to go, let's just jump straight into things here with number 37. The easiest boss in first Berserker Khazan is Gilson. This guy by far is the easiest boss in the game, and that's mainly because he's so late in the game when you're already so incredibly strong. He's a normal enemy with a very basic moveset, and at this point you've already fought this exact same enemy a bunch of different times before. The only real challenge is the fact that he spawns with two archers that assist him, but once they're out of the way, the boss himself is really no threat at all. His attack patterns are easily dodged, and he doesn't deal any serious damage at all if he does hit you. Me personally, honestly, I just had this guy thrown up against a wall, straight up stun locked pretty much the entire fight unless I ran out of stamina. There's really nothing at all to worry about here except maybe the archers, so make sure you deal with them first, but with no real elemental damage or unique mechanics to handle, this is a straightforward and easy fight. Next up at number 36, we have Barius. Now Barius is a giant bear that follows the exact same pattern as all the other bears you've already fought throughout the game. The difficulty here isn't in learning new mechanics or facing unique attacks, it's simply about just surviving his slow but powerful strikes. The main challenge for this fight is honestly just the area leading up to it, but once you're in the actual arena, then Barius isn't much of a challenge at all. This guy can deal some pretty hefty damage, but his attacks are really slow and there's enough time in between each of them to kind of get your own hits in and retaliate. Overall, it's not a difficult fight at all. And especially after you've faced a bunch of tougher enemies in the game, this guy really is no challenge. Next up at 35, we have the Reaper. Now this is certainly another one of the easiest fights on the list, mainly due to his predictable combat style. He uses long combos that are easy to time and avoid, making it more of a chore than a challenge. This fight focuses more on managing the smaller mobs that appear around and ensuring you don't get overwhelmed. But once you've handled the minions, the Reaper becomes a simple task. His health bar is easy to deplete, and there's nothing particularly tricky about his attacks. Overall, this is one of the most straightforward fights in the game. Next up at number 34, we have Failed Creation. The Failed Creation is essentially another normal mob, though this one has a bit of an environmental challenge. This boss resides in a lake of plague, meaning you'll be accumulating plague damage throughout the fight. However, I will say this really becomes not an issue at all once you realize this and you can actually go equip the proper plague resistance gear. The boss himself isn't particularly difficult to fight. His main attacks involve melee damage and fire damage, and there's other random mobs spawning around the area, but they provide little challenge. After a quick gear adjustment, the fight becomes a simple matter of taking down the boss while managing the environment. While the initial lack of preparation might catch you a bit off guard, the fight quickly becomes a routine mob encounter once you're equipped properly. Next up at number 33, we have the Corrupted Creation and Mutated Rosha. This fight involves two bosses, but the encounter is still relatively simple once you've faced enough mobs like this throughout your journey. The first phase is pretty straightforward, where you just deal with the Corrupted Creation, which is a big, slow-moving enemy with long melee combos that are easy to dodge, and then halfway through the fight, the Mutated Rosha appears. But by this point, you're already quite familiar with handling multiple bosses at once, and the other one, Corrupted Creation, is already like over halfway dead. The fight becomes a test of your stamina and positioning, but the combination of two bosses doesn't make it significantly harder. Next up at number 32, we have Revenant of Adversity. This is another optional fight that doesn't really pose much of a threat. This boss feels like more of a normal NPC fight. And at this point in the game, I don't want to get into spoilers for the list yet, but you've already fought bosses like this, so it's a lot easier this time around. What sets this fight apart is that the Revenant of Adversity has the ability to heal himself, but that doesn't make it too challenging to get the hang of. And you can sometimes stun him out of the healing if you're fast enough. Overall, he's a pretty squishy boss, and you can easily break his posture and finish the fight quickly. While he might be a bit more durable than your average mob, the lack of new mechanics and complex attack patterns means you can just treat it like any other encounter. Once you understand the rhythm, this fight becomes a simple exercise in breaking the boss's posture and avoiding any unnecessary healing. Next up at number 31, we have Sergei. Now this was another extremely easy boss that's actually found a bit later on in the game when you're actually insanely overpowered. This fight starts out with two smaller enemies that require some focus, but once they're dealt with, Sergei himself is just a normal spear and shield enemy. His moveset is nothing you haven't seen before, so the real difficulty here is dealing with the initial group of enemies. Once Sergei steps in, the fight feels more like a routine mob battle, and you've likely already mastered how to handle spear-wielding foes by this point in the game. Sergei doesn't bring anything new to the table in terms of difficulty, and the fight quickly becomes about using your learned skills to handle him with ease. With no elemental damage to worry about and relatively simple attack patterns, you can pretty much just block, dodge, and attack at will. And he can't do anything. Next up at number 30, we have Cursed Boris. Cursed Boris is essentially a giant normal mob that starts in Berserk mode, but once you've fought a few of these guys throughout the game, he's really not much of a challenge. He deals all melee damage and has long combos that are pretty easy to avoid or block. The main issue is that he can still deal chaos damage, but once you've dealt with the other chaos heavy bosses, this one becomes less of a concern. Next at number 29, we have the 99th Owl. This is another big mob fight where the boss is in Berserk mode for the entire duration. The main threat here is the significant chaos damage he deals, which can be managed with the proper resistance gear. As long as you actually have enough chaos resistance and stay focused on dodging his attacks, this battle feels pretty straightforward. While he does deal some pretty substantial damage and can catch you off guard with some of his quick attacks, the lack of complexity in the movesets makes it more of just a test of your resilience than combat ability. Just don't take up too much damage so he can't heal up off you. Next, number 28, we have Mutated Xylence. Now this fight is pretty much a repeat of a previous encounter, except this time it's only one part of the fight. This is also an optional battle, so by the time you face this boss, you're already pretty leveled up and more than capable of handling what's thrown at you. This guy doesn't have any particularly standout moves beyond the usual ground slams and hand swipes, making it easy to dodge or block most of his attacks. With no elemental damage or particularly tricky mechanics, this fight feels almost like a regular mob encounter that just so happens to be labeled as a boss. Something else to point out too, I'm not sure if it's something I did or if it was scripted, but you really only have to do like 3/4 of this fight, and then once you get down to like the last quarter, it blinked away in one hit. I don't know what happened, but yeah, it's not even really a full fight. Moving on. Next at 27, we have Spectre of Plavius. I already know I probably butchered bro's name right there, alright? Just tell me in the comments and we're moving on. This fight is an exact copy of the Soul Knight normal mob, which is a bit of a running theme here with all the lower entries, but it also is something that makes him a bit easier than the others. The real difficulty comes from the clones it spawns, creating confusion as you have to keep track of multiple enemies at once. This fight also introduces hallucination damage, which messes with your controls and can make the fight feel a bit hectic. However, the key to handling this fight is staying calm and focusing on the real Spectre while avoiding the illusions. The hallucination effect only flips your movement controls, and it isn't too hard to manage as long as you block or parry and take a cautious approach. You honestly don't even really have to move for this guy, just stand still and just block and parry. Once you learn the visual cues and get used to dealing with the clones, the difficulty of the fight becomes relatively low. It's a bit more about mental focus and ensuring you don't fall into the trap of attacking the wrong target, because trust me, that does happen quite a bit. Next at 26, we have Yatuga. Now this was actually the very first boss of the game. He's a big ape with heavy, slow-hitting attacks that feel like a test on your parry and dodging skills. While his slow combos and grabs hit hard, they are relatively easy to anticipate once you get a hang of his moves. The real challenge is dealing with his frost damage, and at this point in the game you don't really have much in terms of resistance to help you out with that. He also has a few grab abilities that can also be particularly deadly if you're not careful, but with a bit of practice, you can learn to predict and avoid them. The fight may seem intimidating at first, especially considering how little you have in terms of healing and defense early in this game, but once you get used to the rhythm of his attacks, then the fight is a breeze. Next at 25, we have Kestia the Unyielding. Kestia the Unyielding is essentially a photocopy of the Remnant of Adversity. It's an NPC style fight with very few differences. Kestia follows the same pattern with long combos that can be parried or dodged, and he has a variety of weapons to choose from that keep the fight interesting. The challenge still comes from managing his long combo strings and ensuring you don't miss a parry, but with the benefit of knowing exactly what to expect and having gained more strength and skills by this point in the game, Kesha is less of a challenge than the previous iterations of this fight. Next up at 24, we have Blade Phantom. The Blade Phantom fight is a great example of a challenging but fair encounter. This boss uses long combo strings, but they are pretty predictable, and you can parry through nearly all of them. The difficulty comes from the sheer length of his combos, which tests your patience and timing. He also uses a variety of different weapons, adding diversity to his attack patterns and keeping you on your toes. He also has a second damage phase where he ramps up the attacks pretty significantly and can throw a wide range of different things at you, whether that's ranged, melee, or AoE. Overall though, I mean, this is almost the same as the Revenant and Kesha the Unwielding fight, but this is the first time that you do one of those fights, so it's a little bit harder than those guys, since you don't really know the moveset or anything. Next up at 23, we have Charon's Chains. Charon's Chains is actually a side mission that features 3 bosses you've already encountered at various points in the game. The first 2 bosses are also nearly identical to each other, with the same slow, low combo melee attacks. The real threat here comes with the third boss, that's a giant spider. This boss uses both ranged and melee attacks, dealing substantial poison damage throughout the fight. The key to overcoming this though is just understanding the spider's attack patterns and managing the poison buildup. And at this point in the game, you've already dealt with a ton of spiders and maybe a spider boss, so you kind of got this moveset locked down. The overall difficulty of this fight is extremely low due to your familiarity with these bosses, and at this point in the game, you're a lot stronger than the first time you saw them. Next up at number 22, we have Tanya. This boss is actually just one of the Saint of Sin demons, which are regular enemies you fight countless times throughout the game. The main challenge with Tanya is that she's in Berserk mode for the entirety of the fight, making it feel like you have to be near perfect with your timing and reactions. Her healing ability while in Berserk mode means that if you take any damage, she'll recover health and extend the fight. This makes the battle feel very parry heavy, as you need to wait for the right moments to strike without giving her a chance to heal. She also uses projectile chaos damage, adding an extra layer of difficulty as you need to dodge and be ready to block. The challenge lies not in the complexity of her moveset, but in managing her healing and dealing with her constant aggression. This fight is more about patience than anything else. It really feels like you get more damage off when you parry more than anything, because she's just so aggressive. It's hard to get a chance to swing. Next up at 21, we have Zaldin. Now this is another repeat of a different fight that's coming up, but this time it's much later in the game, and it's also optional, so you can come back to it at whatever level. The lack of a second phase makes this battle 10 times easier than the fight it's copying, and the fight itself feels a lot less intense because you've already experienced this moveset a lot earlier in the game. While you've likely mastered the mechanics needed to beat him, some difficulty does still arise from his quick, long combo attacks and the pressure he keeps on you the entire time. He can grab you in the midst of his attacks, leading to devastating damage, and his mobility makes it tough to predict exactly when you can strike. But like I said, we've already seen all these moves before, which makes this a lot more manageable. I mean, I don't think you should have too many issues with this guy. Next at number 20, we have Spectre of Bongo. I know I've already said this like 10,000 times already, but this is, you guessed it, another repeat fight of a different fight later on. And just like the other repeat fights, this one's a lot later on, but you've already learned the moveset, and it's also optional, so you can come back to it whenever you feel like. While the core mechanics remain the same, Bongo has less fire damage, making it less of a concern. The most notable difference is his ability to teleport around the arena, making him a bit trickier to track. These teleportation mechanics add a layer of unpredictability to the fight, as it becomes more difficult to stay close to him and land hits, but his teleporting isn't overwhelming. It just kind of changes the pace of the fight slightly. Despite the extra mobility, this guy can be stunned and interrupted during his attack sequences, which means that once you understand his movement and attack patterns, you'll be able to take him down with relatively few issues. Next at number 19, we have Elamane. Now this is an extremely straightforward boss with a strong emphasis on lightning damage and shielded defense. The real difficulty lies in her ability to block a significant portion of your attacks with her shield, which can make the fight feel like it's dragging on quite a bit. I found a really easy fix for this though, and it's the Deep Shadow armor set that has a 90% guard penetration, so you can comfortably wail on the shield and still apply damage. Besides the shield, her long, fast combos can catch you off guard, and her grab attacks, which flip you over for devastating damage, are especially dangerous if you fail to anticipate them. As with many bosses of this type, Elamane also requires you to keep close track of your stamina and status effects, as she does some extremely fast, long-range moves that can punish you if you're too aggressive. I was really struggling to understand what was going on for this fight the first couple of deaths, but I'm telling you, once you put on that deep shadow armor and then you come in with some lightning resistance, this fight really ain't nothing special at all. Next up at number 18, we have Remnant of Elemaine. Oh, who would have thought? Remnant of Elemaine is a mirror match of, you guessed it, Elemaine, but with some added complexity. We literally not even 30 seconds ago just went over this, but I'll just give you the rundown real quick. This fight involves long combos and tons of lightning damage, and this new version also introduces an additional mechanic, where she can disappear and reappear at various points around the arena. While this adds a bit of unpredictability, the core of the fight remains the same. The Remnant still retains Elemaine's devastating combos, and her shield can still block a significant portion of your attacks. However, same rules as the last one apply. If you have the Deep Shadow armor set that has 90% guard break, you'll be able to comfortably break through her shield and prevent her from stalling the fight for too long. Next up at number 17, we have Urid the Completed. This is another giant mob boss that deals plague damage, and he also uses a combination of quick, fast-paced combos and slow buildups that can trap you if you're not careful. The most frustrating aspect is probably the plague buildup, which continues to eat away at your health if you're hit by his attacks, forcing you to monitor your status effects while also keeping your guard up. Urid also has a few undodgeable moves, which requires you to carefully manage your positioning. One of the key elements to this fight is being aware of his grab attacks, as they can quickly take away a large portion of your health. And like a lot of these other lower entries on the list, this is another repeat of another boss coming up that you've already faced by this point in the game, so you've already likely mastered the moveset. Just had to throw that in there. I know I've said it a lot, but I just gotta throw it in for each one. Next up at number 16, we have Belleran. This fight revolves primarily around her use of magic and the mob she summons throughout the encounter. The main issue for her specifically in this battle is her constant barrage of ranged magical attacks, which can either deal fire or lightning damage depending on her attack pattern. Besides just her, the majority of the challenge comes from managing to summon minions during the fight. These enemies appear mid-fight and complicate an already intense battle, forcing you to juggle attacking Belleran while dealing with the additional threats. She also has a bubble shield which absorbs some damage, but you're still able to hit her through it. Once you understand how to efficiently handle the adds and focus on dodging or parrying Belleran's attacks, the fight becomes more manageable. What she spawns and when she spawns it also just seems kind of random too. Like you might get lucky and she just spawns a couple dogs, or you might get unlucky and she spawns the freaking Reaper to help her out. It just kind of depends. Next up, number 15, we have Shaktuka. This is another one of the relatively straightforward fights compared to the other bosses on the list. This guy actually has the same moveset as some of the normal big mobs around, but I don't think they come out until after this fight. This giant boss is slow to build up attacks, but his speed increases as he attacks, throwing off your rhythm and making it hard to predict his next move. The most dangerous part of this fight is his plague damage, which slowly depletes your health over time, forcing you to pay attention to your status effects throughout the battle. His combos are fairly short compared to the other bosses, but the way he mixes in quick strikes with slow heavy swings can make you miss your opportunity to counterattack. At first this fight seemed pretty easy, but the longer you fight him, the more his attacks will throw off your timing. The hardest part of the whole thing is how easily he can bait you into a mistake, as his moveset isn't overly complicated but requires constant attention and patience. Once you've figured out his attack patterns, Shaktuka becomes a lot easier, but his ability to mess with your rhythm makes it an interesting challenge. Next up at number 14, we have Aratra. Yeah, we played with the arachnophobia filter on. I don't like spiders. Continue with the video. This fight is a challenge not only because of his speed and poison damage, but also because of the unpredictability introduced by his summoned mobs. At the start, his attack patterns are fast and deceptive, with a mix of fast combos and grabs that can catch you off guard. What makes this fight particularly taxing is the poison damage, which can affect you even if you're blocking, making it extra tricky to handle. One of the more dangerous aspects of this fight is his ability to grab you, which can not only deal a significant amount of damage, but leave you exposed for follow-up attacks. I will say though, something that helps out tremendously for this fight is that I didn't realize you can actually break off his front arms for significant damage, and it also severely hinders what he's able to do attack-wise. These can grow back if you're not fast enough in finishing him off, but either way, it still does a ton of damage and helps out a lot in the fight. Next up at number 13, we have Yedirak. This is another big mob that I think you also fight quite a bit just walking around. This guy has a wide range of abilities that can both stagger and trap you, with grabs that can lead to devastating follow-up damage. What sets this apart from other similar fights is the difficulty of dealing with his frost damage, which is unavoidable for some of his attacks. The frost does some damage to your health and also slows you down a considerable amount, which makes it hard to dodge other attacks. His slow attacks and big swings make it tempting to go on the offensive, but you have to be careful about getting too greedy with your attacks. If you're too aggressive, you risk being grabbed or caught in one of his faster strikes, which can cost you a lot of health. Next up at number 12, we have Guido. This is another photocopy of a different fight, but this time he comes much later in the game, when you've already got the moveset down. The main difficulty comes from this katana phase that he actually starts the fight in, but if you can get those timings down, then the rest of the fight when he pulls out great swords is a lot easier. He also deals chaos damage that continues to be a major factor as we progress in the story, so just stock up on some pots and rings or he's gonna chunk away at your health bar. Next up at number 11, we have Hismar. This fight really stands out in the game as the first and only truly ginormous massive mob encounters. Because of his size, he moves a lot slower than most of the other bosses, but his sheer power and elemental damage more than makes up for it. His attacks are pretty easily timed, but he often still sneaks in some damage from the chaos elemental he deals. The camera lock is also something that becomes a bit of an issue because you can only lock onto his head, but you're still able to attack the rest of his body. But I will say, it never felt like my camera was getting thrown all over the place. Come to think of it, this might have been the best the camera has ever worked for me in any sort of giant dragon boss fight. But there were still some times where I was thinking, man, I just want to wail away on that right arm, but Khazan kept going for the headshot. It just be like that. Alrighty everybody, we have made it to our top 10 hardest bosses in First Berserker Khazan. Real quick before we dive in here, hey, thanks for watching this video, big dog. Maybe you skipped to the timestamp or maybe you've been watching all the way through. I don't know, but either way, thanks for watching this video. Let's get back to it. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Coming in at number 10 on our list, we have Rankus. Rankus is a classic, slow but deadly boss who can be incredibly tough due to his high damage output. He deals fire damage, which forces you to stay alert and avoid getting hit, as his attacks can leave you with significant burn damage. The real challenge here, however, I felt like is his posture mechanic. This guy's posture bar seems to straight up defy logic at times. I don't know exactly what the difference is between the purple or white posture bars, but this is the only boss I've seen that actively refills his bar while I'm mid-attacking him. You can get him down to a quarter of his posture bar, maybe even less with relative ease, but then the bar will often just start refilling out of nowhere, even when you're just about to break it, making it feel like progress is continually being undone. He also has a potion that he can use that also refills his posture, which almost makes us feel like the fight is broken somehow. Why would he have a potion that specifically refills the bar if it's just gonna do it by itself all the time anyways? This was honestly getting me incredibly checked out of the fight, because even when you're doing everything right, his posture remains unbroken, and he never really staggers at all, which kind of makes this fight feel like it's dragging on quite a bit. While he is slow and deliberate, the combination of fire damage, posture issues, and his potion make Rankus one of the more challenging bosses in the game. Next up at number 9, we have Brinkus. Now we literally just talked about his brother in number 10, and you guessed it, he has the exact same moveset, except this time he does fire damage the entire time, not just once you get his health bar down a quarter or so. The real difficulty here though is the same as the last fight. I mean, they both have damn near impenetrable posture bars that never want to break. This mechanic makes them one of the more frustrating bosses to fight, as even with a near perfect strategy, it feels impossible to break the posture consistently. I know you don't have to break their posture to win the fight, alright? You can just whittle down their entire health bar, but this game is extremely focused on that bar being broken so you can get big hits in, so it was just kind of messing with me that I couldn't break it. Besides just that though, his fire damage also forces you to play more carefully, as it's easy to get caught in one of his more devastating attacks that can take away a large chunk of your health. While you may already know the moves from the Rankus fight, the addition of the fire right off the bat makes this fight a little bit harder than Rankus, because at least at the beginning of the Rankus fight, he's just doing normal damage. He brings out the fire once his health bar is a quarter or halfway gone. Next up at number 8, we have Reese. This is a fight with 2 full health bar phases, and while it might seem a bit odd that there's a 2 full health bar phase fight this low, the first phase, she's honestly a huge pushover. It really only feels like you have to worry about the second phase. For the first phase, she's mainly just hitting you with projectiles and trying to create distance. But if you're able to get close, you can pretty easily stun lock her into oblivion until you're out of stamina. However, I will say her second phase changes everything. Reese becomes far more aggressive with fast melee combos that leave you little room to breathe. The real threat though comes from the chaos damage that she deals, which is particularly dangerous if you don't manage to dodge or parry her attacks perfectly. This fight becomes a dance of managing her teleportation, her fast combos, and the chaos damage she inflicts. Next up at number 7, we have Traka. This fight damn near felt like a marathon. This battle is one of patience and careful navigation. At first, it might seem like she's just another projectile-focused boss, but the fight becomes far more challenging due to her ability to keep her distance and control the pace of the battle. Traka spends a significant amount of time trying to just position herself, and she also uses her umbrella as both a shield and weapon to defend herself when you get close. She also deals frost damage that slows you down, making it harder to dodge other attacks. Besides just that, she has a few phases where you can't even damage her, but she can dish out some pretty huge damage if you miss your dodge timings. The key to surviving this encounter lies in patience, positioning, and keeping an eye on your stamina bar, as it can drain quickly from both her attacks and the frost damage she inflicts. It's a fight where defensive play is just as important as attacking. You can't just run in here fully on the offense thinking you're going to finish her in 2 seconds, because it is not happening. Next up at number 6, we have Maluka. This is the exact same fight as our number 12 entry, Guido, except this is the first time you see it, so the moveset is completely brand new. Maluka's fight is a test of speed and precision. The battle starts off feeling easy, almost like a warm-up, but this quickly changes when he transitions into his second damage phase. In this phase, Maluka becomes incredibly fast, launching devastating combo attacks that can easily overwhelm an unprepared player. One of the most challenging aspects of this fight is the sheer length of some of his combos, with one string of attacks consisting of up to like 9 hits. Maluka also builds up chaos damage with his attacks, which can eat away at your health if you don't manage it well. Something else that makes this fight particularly tricky is the healing mechanic. Maluka can heal himself mid-fight, which means that if you're not aggressive enough in dealing damage, the battle can drag on unnecessarily. I will say though, if you can make it past the katana phase, he pulls the greatswords back out, and it's the exact same fight as before, which is much more manageable. Though the fight feels better once you get the timings down for his katana phase, it's the combination of speed, chaos damage, and the healing that makes Maluka a formidable opponent. Next at our top number 5 hardest boss in First Berserker, we have Princess Ilyana. Ilyana is an extremely fast and aggressive boss, with a parry-heavy moveset that barely gives you a second to breathe. Her sword combos are relentless, forcing you into constant defense with little to no time for counterattacks. Also, once she loses a quarter of her health, she begins incorporating chaos damage into her attacks, cycling through this powered-up phase multiple times during the fight. She also has multiple two-shot capabilities, and her grab attack is especially devastating. It can remove over half your health and leave your chaos meter dangerously high. What makes this fight even more intense is her evasiveness. Every time you try to get close, she just dodges away, constantly forcing you to chase her down while under pressure and losing stamina. Honestly, I think I might have gotten pretty lucky when I beat her. I don't think I had fully mastered her moves, but I had managed to save some of my healing items until the final stretch, and I just kind of barely scraped out the dub. This fight was pretty crazy though. Next up at number 4, we have Scalpel. This was the second fight in the game that had a 2-phase structure, and it demands awareness of Scalpel's AoE, melee, and ranged abilities. They totally got me at first too. I thought it was over after the first phase, thought everything was good, but then bro just springs up out of the coffin ready for round 2. No fucking shot this has a second phase, dude. Oh, okay, it doesn't. Woo! Woo! I thought the motherfucker was about to come back in. Holy shit, that would have been hard. Oh shit, he is! This guy is deceptively tricky, with slow windups that explode into quick attacks, making timing really difficult. One of his standout moves is grabbing you with his coffin, which takes away a massive chunk of your health bar, and he also deals plague damage throughout the fight, which adds an extra layer of pressure. For his second phase, he's in Berserk mode, and his health bar actually starts to just dwindle by itself over time. So the challenge shifts from a pure offense to just kind of surviving and waiting him out while not taking too much damage. There's also a few new moves added into the second phase, but for the most part, it's still the same as the first, but now he's like really mad. Next up at our top, number 3, we have Volbano. This fight was honestly the turning point in my experience with the game. At first, I was still playing this game like it was Dark Souls or something, kinda timid and reactive, but this fight flipped a switch for me. This was the fight where I really locked in and started embracing the game's faster combat systems. His moveset is mostly melee and AoE fire damage, with several different combos to keep you on your toes. The real challenge here is his unavoidable flame damage. Even with perfect blocks, the flame still applies to you, so you're constantly taking chip damage that builds up over time. With limited heals and no access to the blacksmith, it becomes a brutal endurance match. It almost feels like you're racing to finish him off before the fire inevitably wears you down. The arena itself also adds to the confusion, as it's split into 2 sections, and it took me a few lives to realize that the fight transitions to the upper level. Some people might look at this fight and think, wow, that really wasn't hard at all. What is bro talking about? But me personally, I was straight up in the blender for this one. This guy gave me the most deaths out of anyone, and I just I couldn't do anything about it. I could not escape that fire damage. Next up at number 2, we have Viper. Viper stands out not only because of the difficulty of the fight itself, but also because of how early it happens in the game. You're hit with a 2-phase, full health bar fight before you've even had much time to build up your character or stockpile heals. His speed is off the charts, and the windows to safely attack are few and far between. Most of the fight ends up being centered around parrying rather than attacking. His attacks are deceptive, often starting with similar animations but ending in multiple different ways, which makes them incredibly hard to predict. I will say too, I also ended up switching builds mid-fight to try out the greatsword, which might have added some extra deaths for me because I was relearning the whole fight. And because of that, I was also a bit too cautious and not capitalizing on parry opportunities. But yeah, long story short, this is an insane fight, especially for how early on you see him. And finally, for our top number 1 hardest boss in first Berserker Khazan, this might be no surprise, but we have Ozma. Ozma was by far the most intense and grueling boss in the game. The fight itself lasts over 15 minutes, which is an absurd amount of time to be completely locked in without making too many mistakes. Depending on the ending you're going for, this fight can either be 2 or 3 full health bar phases, demanding perfection for extended periods. For my playthrough, I got the first Berserker ending, so we went through all 3 full health bar phases. Ozma's kit is a chaotic barrage of everything the game can throw at you. Melee combos, range attacks, elemental AoEs, you name it. The primary elemental damage he deals is chaos, and it builds up extremely fast. He also mixes in other elemental types during his first phase, forcing you to stockpile up on specific pots just to survive. On top of that, he moves incredibly fast and chains together lengthy combos that can end in one of several different ways, keeping you guessing, and it makes timing your parries extremely difficult. Certain attacks feel like they must be parried too to create any openings for damage, as getting in close otherwise is incredibly dangerous. He also has multiple abilities that can straight 1 to 2 shot you if you're not ready for that. And even if you somehow survive them, you're left with a significant amount of chaos buildup. This is a fight that demands your absolute best at all times, and it was truly a thrilling ending to this game. I had a lot of fun with this one. And with that being said, folks, I think that's gonna about do it here for our list today. This game was tremendous fun, and it honestly might be a top 5 all-time Souls-like for your boy. I really enjoyed my time playing this. I'm not exactly sure if I'll have a review posted by the end of this weekend, but I will have a review posted for this game very soon. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely hit that subscribe button and be on the lookout for that. If there's any changes you would have made to this list, drop it down in the comments below because I'd love to hear what you thought. Also, if you enjoyed your time here today, why not drop a like on the video real quick, you know what I'm saying? I'd appreciate the hell out of that. Either way, whether you like the list or not, thanks for sticking around to watch. I also appreciate that. But alrighty folks, that's enough from me. Take care, enjoy the rest of your day or night or whatever time it is for you. This has been Lunar, and welcome to Bound.